Hello, this is Edward Kastner from Making It Happen. Beside me tonight, I have Justin Kern from Red Cross. Thank you for joining me, Justin.
Thank you for having me.
No problem. Who started the Red Cross and why did they start it?
Yeah,
because some people don't know the history. So.
Absolutely. You know, actually, March starts Red Cross Month,
so and I didn't know that.
It's a good time to be talking Red Cross, and and to match.
Yeah, right. I did that purposely.
Red Cross was started in America by Clara Barton.
Okay.
She was a nurse on the battlefields in the Civil War, and in seeing the kind of trauma and tragedy there, really rallied people behind helping support service members and helping people dealing with crisis and disasters. And not too long after that, Wisconsin started its own chapters of the Red Cross since the 1880s, and has been going strong ever since then. We've got offices here in Oshkosh and out in Green Bay that cover this chapter area specifically.
Okay. When did the Red Cross start in Oshkosh?
That would be into the early 1900s.
Okay. And who started it here in Oshkosh? Do you know?
Boy, way back then, I don't have the names of the people that started it then. But it was a little kind of different vibe back then. It was a kind of thing where small groups of people would start a little chapter. It was a little more centered on municipalities. Someone, say, in Oshkosh specifically, would deal with stuff in Oshkosh. Now it's much more of kind of a regional thing where we think about Red Cross in terms of the whole state of Wisconsin.
Okay. And you said Green Bay. You said you cover Green Bay and kind of the Oshkosh area too, then?
Yeah, we've got 2 local offices. I'd call that. Yeah, for kind of all the things that we do around this region, and they help across the state as well.
Okay, what do you think you like most about your job?
People. I mean, I would say the people that we get to both help that are in crisis, meeting them and being able to know that we go there and help someone in their sometimes their greatest time of need, but also the people that are helping them are usually volunteers. 90% of what we do is volunteer driven. So it's really, there's no bias, and it's just people enabling people to help other people, watching that happen. That's really a magical thing to watch happen.
And what do you do in your role as communications?
Sure. Yeah. I'm kind of in charge of the storytelling and working with the media. I've got my own volunteers that help me, and we'll do things like if we get to do media spots like this. We get to talk with the media and share our story. Also, when there's breaking things, if there's breaking news like a shelter opens up, or if there's flooding, we're able to get out in front of the media and kind of share what we're doing, how people can get help. And then a lot of social media things. I work the Twitter account and the Facebook account and the LinkedIn account. And then it's really making sure that when we do work with someone, for instance, this past weekend there was an event in Milwaukee where we were a part of a group of agencies meeting homeless or at-risk veterans and getting them things they need, and helping connect them with things like immediate needs, hygiene items, resources to other veterans related issues, and connecting with things like work, things you might not normally think about, and being able to be there, talk with some of the veterans, and share their story on our website and in our blogs and even internally. Very rewarding for me, and that's why I'm proud to work every single day for the American Red Cross of Wisconsin.
Going back to this weekend, why do you think it was so rewarding to see the veterans and stuff?
Yeah, for me, I think it was something where it gave me some perspective of how there are people there that have made the ultimate sacrifice, and some of their struggles, I think, maybe get lost or overshadowed over time. And to talk with some of those service members and to kind of see where they're at, and that was both. It was humbling. But it also gave me some perspective on how many people really just need a hand up sometimes.
Because when we don't really realize things until we see things, and we're like, oh, we don't have it that bad, you know.
Absolutely, you know, and right, it's the kind of thing where it's easy. We get wrapped up in our day-to-day things that we don't see. You know, even our own struggles that we kind of maybe don't always take the time to think about our neighbors, to think about people just in our very own community that could use any number of levels of help.
So where did you end up going to school, and what got you interested in being part of the Red Cross?
Yeah, my background's journalism. I grew up in Western New York, so near Buffalo. Went to college, a state school there. Buffalo State College is very much like kind of a UWM in Milwaukee, and studied journalism. I worked in newspapers and daily news for more than a decade. And bounced around at a few other jobs and ended up at a nonprofit prior to this, and realized that I felt like my calling was the ability to share stories and to work not just in the storytelling side of things, but in storytelling that can make an impact in people's lives and help the community. And when the job for the Red Cross came open a year and a half ago, I leapt at it.
What nonprofit did you do before this?
Sure. It's called Secure Futures. They're still around. They do amazing things. They bring business people into schools to teach teenagers about money. So a really important function of our society that often gets overlooked.
And what do you like working best for a nonprofit? What do you?
Yeah, I think it's the feel good. You know, I was at I had worked briefly at a software company. And I think one of the things there, while they did really good work, and I worked hard and put effort and quality into my work, I was missing that feel-good thing, the thing where I connected with people where I lived and around the state, and being at Secure Futures, but especially being at the Red Cross, I've been able to meet and get around the people and get around the entire state and realize the power that can come from doing good in the community.
Do you have a story from Oshkosh that maybe touches your heart that you might want to share?
A story from Oshkosh. Let me think here. You know, not the city of Oshkosh. I think, you know, nearby there have been a couple of things. You know, I think I was driving through from Madison today and stopped by Brandon, and it reminded me of all the flooding and storms last year. You know, just last year, the entire state, right? Pretty much the entire state was dealing with high water levels, flooded basements, and we'd set up shelters all around this area. But Brandon, Monticello, Green Bay, and that was the kind of thing. Watching people rally and come together. There was a woman in particular in Brandon. She's from Alto, actually, who and had some family from Oshkosh. Her power went out, and the trees were down all around her home, and we set up a shelter, the only place that had power kind of in the area at the elementary school there, and we were able to connect with the fire department, who went and rescued this woman in a four-wheeler, driving through a soybean field, breaking down her door, getting this woman that had some mobility challenges, get her on the four-wheeler and take her through the middle of the night through a storm to the elementary school for shelter, where we had a shelter, and it was the only place that was that had all the things that she had, some other hospital or medical needs that needed to be plugged in, and that was the only place that it could happen. So. A lot of things that I maybe would take for granted, right? And someone in the middle of the night is able to kind of get rescued, and our partners are able to connect us with this person in need, and she was able to have a shelter, and her family could come get her the next day. But her name is Janice Heisenga, and that was a really incredible thing to see, that even a small storm like the storms we had last year, it was. There are a lot of stories like that all over the state.
And so let's say if somebody, loses their house in a fire, can Red Cross step in and say, hey, what do you need? What if they lose everything?
Yeah, right. No, it's the unthinkable, right?
Yeah.
It's nothing. I mean, you could plan. You can have a home fire escape plan. You can have smoke alarms at work. You can have
everything set up.
And you can still, anybody can have a fire. Everyone's susceptible to that. But we help anyone in need, and our goal is really to help in the first kind of 48, 72 hours. What can we do to make sure that you have somewhere safe to stay, that you have food, you have some of those immediate needs met. We connect people with health resources. So say you had a fire and you have some prescriptions. We're able to be that kind of middle person to talk with somewhere like Walgreens and make sure you can get your medicine, you can get your glasses, your CPAP machine, whatever it might be.
Regardless of whatever, whatever just happened.
If you are in need, that's why we're there. And so we make those connections for people so that, within the first couple of days, they have that buffer so they can. There's going to be so many things you're going to be dealing with, but that we're able to help them kind of for those first couple of days, kind of a stopgap type thing.
What do you think the biggest need at Red Cross is?
Boy, that's
What do you guys need?
Yeah. I think the two things that I always encourage people to share are. If you're able to donate blood is certainly something that we're always in. There's a constant need for blood around the country and across the state, but I'd say especially for this area, volunteers. We have so many volunteer opportunities for people to help in all the different ways that we impact people's lives. That if you go to redcross.org, you click on volunteer, you're going to be connected with someone that's going to get you involved in your community where you live in a way that excites you and engages you. So I'd say donate blood if you're able to donate blood, and come join us. We need as many people as possible. We need every type. We need everyone. It's got to be a big tent.
What does it take to donate blood?
The redcrossblood.org. They'll have a set list of there are some parameters for donating blood, but we'll walk you through those and you can check it out on the website there. It's a lot more people I think can donate blood than I think that's one of the misconceptions. I think people sometimes think that it's scary or they can't do it or whatever it might be, but the need is there, and if you're able to, I'd encourage people to go to redcrossblood.org and at least read some of the FAQs. There's a lot there to at least put your mind at ease or give you a perspective on what it takes to donate blood.
What kind of blood is needed the most?
O and O positive, kind of the universal donor. I think about a lot of the blood we share is with hospitals, for instance, and that blood, that's the kind of blood that can be used in every single type of situation.
Okay.
So the O and O positive especially would be what we'd encourage
because
people to have.
Because with O, anybody, it can go to anybody, right?
Absolutely, right. Yeah, and that's the kind of thing where that just makes it that much easier for people when they're in an absolute emergency. You're thinking about a hospital, you're thinking about an emergency room, right? That is the best kind of blood for that situation.
Did you guys send anybody down from Hurricane Katrina? Because you remember when Hurricane Katrina happened, it was a big hurricane. It was a lot of.
Absolutely, there's some volunteers from this area even that Hurricane Katrina was, I think, one of those mass disasters, just national catastrophes, right? Where a lot of people, if they weren't already involved with the Red Cross, a lot of people look back and they said, that was the day I decided to get involved with the Red Cross. We have a lot of volunteers still from Hurricane Katrina. So yeah, we had a lot of people. There's a guy from Elm Grove here that helped run one of the massive shelters outside of New Orleans. He lives in Eagle River and Elm Grove. So, people here have made an impact down there. I could say a little more recently, the hurricanes that we had, Florence and Michael, just this past fall, we had a lot of people, including myself. I was down in Florida for Hurricane Michael, and that was an incredible, eye-opening, painful, but really still the kind of experience where I know we were there helping people really at some of the toughest moments of their entire life.
How did it open your eyes, and how did it change you as a person?
Yeah, that's a great question. It was the kind of thing where I had done training. I had been to the floods and things we had here, and not to minimize what people went through here, but the level of destruction and devastation there was mind-boggling. I didn't think it was possible, and not only that, I didn't think it was possible that that could happen somewhere, and that there would be people still alive and trying to work their everyday lives. I mean, it was really jarring, especially after a number of days of seeing driving. You'd drive for half an hour, and every tree you drove by was snapped in half.
And that was something to see, wasn't it?
That was something. I mean, there was an entire Mexico Beach. I was in that area of Mexico Beach where there's some pretty historic pictures, but and a lot of volunteers from here went down there and saw these same things. That an entire town. Think of Egg Harbor or somewhere in Door County. It's kind of like a touristy place, right? Like somewhere in Door County, totally demolished. Every single street, every home just crushed. And it's supposed to be this place of joy, of relaxation, and to some people, of course, their paradise. And it was just gone. So that was really jarring and amazing. But to also see, it's the old Mr. Rogers thing, look for the helpers kind of thing, right? To see Red Cross, Salvation Army, any number of linemen, Southern Baptist Kitchen, World Central Kitchen, so many agencies dropped everything they were doing to get down there to help people, and to see all these cars zigzagging through this destruction to help people, that made you think that as bad as it is, there's people here to help.
Do you ever have to give anybody a hug or just a talk? Because after they lose everything, they just want to vent to you. They want to vent to somebody.
You're so right. The first thing, a really smart person right when I started said that the first thing we have video. We have video we have videos of some volunteers here from Red Cross.
We've been married for 6 years. We've been together, I think it's a total of 11 years now that we've been dating. It was a very normal Saturday. It couldn't have been more normal. We ran some errands. We came home and we had Aiden, our newborn, so he was 5 weeks old at the time. I took him in the other room to change his diaper, and when I came back in, Andrea was just laying there on the ground. So I called 911, put it on speakerphone, and then got down next to her on my knees and started trying to think through what I had learned at my Red Cross CPR training. So then I pretty immediately just started going through chest compressions while I was talking, and doing those the whole time while I was talking to the 911 operator. The whole time I was on the phone with 911 and giving her CPR, our 5-week-old is screaming in the background. There's all kinds of thoughts going through your head about having to raise our child on my own. What could happen here if she doesn't make it? And I'm hearing him screaming in the back of my mind the whole time. So they eventually figured out what happened and identified that she has a heart condition that she was born with. After the fact, everybody was explaining to me how critical those 7 minutes were, and that that was pretty emotional for me to know how important it was that I did what I did. And I think the scarier part in the back of my mind was how bad of a situation it could have been if I didn't react that way.
It's amazing that he kept his composure and really looked back to what he had learned in those CPR classes and remembered the components of what he needed to do and did them correctly.
Well, I'm one of the biggest CPR advocates now because I've learned firsthand, obviously, the importance of those skills. Hopefully you're never in a situation like that. But if you are, would you rather know what to do or would you rather not know what to do?
I didn't think about it twice prior to this happening to me because it just seems a concept that was so far-fetched, but it can happen to anybody, and in certain situations CPR could save someone's life. I'm a testament of it all working.
So that's just a testament of what Red Cross can offer as far as classes and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking disasters before, but the other part of what we do is preparedness.
Yeah.
And something we try to leave people prepared and able, just like Luke and the Benrud family, to deal with crisis or to be able to handle something so it doesn't become something worse.
Because you never know when something's gonna happen.
Yeah, just like the home fire thing we were talking about earlier, right? I mean, you can prepare and have things ready, but home fires do happen. Mm-hmm. So would you rather know where to go with your family with a home fire escape plan and an emergency kit? I mean, I think that's what everyone would choose to do.
And because I think Red Cross gets the misconception, oh, you guys just do blood. They don't know about the classes, all the classes you have, like CPR. Sure. Like child care classes or babysitting classes. Sure. You guys offer a number of Rite Aid classes. Maybe you can talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, there's 5 tenets of what we do, right? So there's blood, like you said, and that's a big one. And a lot of people know us by. There's disaster, so that's anything from home fires to the big hurricanes. Okay. There is the international services, so that's dealing with people in international kind of crisis situations. There's service to the armed forces, that's working with our veterans and military service members. And finally, there's the training services, so that's making sure that there are CPR classes, and there's CPR classes that happen every week here in Oshkosh. At the Oshkosh office there, you can go to redcross.org. You can find one of those CPR classes. There's first aid, CPR, AED training. And babysitting, lifeguarding, those are other kind of courses we do. And we've also kind of rolled out kind of a citizen-only, kind of compression-only CPR. Mm-hmm. That it's a little, you don't get a certification, but it's the kind of thing where through a few steps, you might be able to help someone in crisis for those first few moments until the paramedics or other people arrive.
Yeah, that home disaster one. Can you help somebody set up like a safety plan to get out of their place if something were to happen? Like, I live in an apartment, so could you help me set up a safety plan, or
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just thinking, we have a campaign called Sound the Alarm, Save a Life, where we will, if you go to getasmokealarm.org, you can sign up for a smoke alarm. We'll come and install the smoke alarm. We don't just do that. We work with you on kind of this dry erase board and talk with you about a way to get out of your home. The best place to go, where to meet people. Do other people? Who would you call? What should you have in next to your nightstand to grab? And that's the kind of thing you slap it on your fridge or you put it next to your bedside, and you feel prepared. It's better to talk about it rather than just
not to talk about it,
or just hide it and think it's not going to happen to me, because I guarantee everybody that's had a home fire thought it wasn't going to happen to them.
How many people do you think walk through your door a day needing services?
It's not as much walking through the door. It's so much now where volunteers are out in the community. That it's less of a brick and mortar thing now. It's more of a we're going to come to you. Of course, there are the courses like the CPR training that are going to happen either at one of our offices, maybe a nearby church or whatever it might be. You can find the locations on our website. But if it's something like a disaster, we're going to make arrangements and come to you. It's going to be the kind of thing where we meet you. If you've had a home fire, we're going to come there. Or if we've set up a shelter, you'll be there, and we'll help you with those next steps.
So you said you need volunteers. Where do you need volunteers the most?
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple different areas. I think that certainly that home fire and smoke alarm installation, those are two aspects of volunteering that we could use people, especially in this area, to help with. Anytime there's an area where it's a city and there's more people and more homes, you're going to have more fires. And I think that we're at about 3 times the level of normal home fires right now in the winter. It's just been so cold that you see more home fires. So the home fire, being able to be a home fire responder, I think is a huge thing. I think one of the other aspects is signing up to help kind of that service to the armed forces. So if you're able to come and be there for veterans at one of the VAs or at one of our rallies, or be there for service members when they maybe have to come home from a deployment. There's some amazing opportunities to volunteer.
Now, when you say be there when they come home from deployment, like what what would they need when they come home, or does it just depend on what they ask for?
Sometimes we'll have the kind of the heroes, the send off when some of the veterans of past wars maybe will go to Washington D.C. to visit some things, the vets roll kind of thing, and they'll come back and it'll be more of a rally, but. The kind of thing like we did in Green Bay at Lambeau, I think 2 months back, where a number of the Army National Guard were deploying out to the Middle East, and we were there with a stand to tell them some of the services we have to help them keep in contact with their family, but even just to be there for them and let them know that the community supports them.
And with our remaining minutes here. Why would you say it's so important to donate blood?
Sure, that blood component, I think that the need for blood is constant. The Red Cross supplies 40% of the nation's blood supply, and it's a kind of a never-ending need.
And what do you guys do to promote, your drives and stuff?
Sure. I mean, we've got a couple of different campaigns right now. There's actually a Game of Thrones campaign that if you donate now and you're eligible, you can get a Game of Thrones T-shirt, and you can also be eligible to go see the premiere of the next season of Game of Thrones. But really, I think bigger than that, if you give blood, you're helping to save lives, and that's a thing that if you can make the time, it doesn't take long, and it's the kind of thing you will be making an immediate impact on people.
And anybody can donate, right?
There are certainly some parameters on based on health and when you've last donated or that kind of thing, but you can find more of that at redcrossblood.org.
Have you donated blood personally?
Many times, yeah. I did the day after Christmas, and I'm signed up April 4th. I will be in Milwaukee to donate once more.
When do you think that they become their lowest in blood? Because there's always a need, but there becomes that low point where
Yeah, it's a great question. We tend to see a dip when we've had to cancel a lot of drives because of the weather.
Yeah.
So I think while people are able to right now, if you can donate now's the time to donate, because we are in a blood emergency, so we're a little low right now. Also in the middle of summer, a lot of schools aren't able to hold drives because the schools are closed and people are out on vacation. So if you are able to donate blood, in the middle of summer and right around the holiday time are really 2 times of need.
Well, Justin, thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me. It's been great, and I'm so happy you give me a platform to kind of share with your audience about the Red Cross story. And
please, if you can donate blood, it's very important because you can save many lives per day. This is Edward Katzen for making it happen. Thank you, Oshkosh.
Thank you so much for having me.
No problem.
That was great.
I got